What was your biggest takeaway? We have a lot of things to talk about with you from the combine, but what was your biggest takeaway covering it from beginning to end with the wideouts and quarterbacks last night?
Well, I think yet another draft where the wide receiver position will just keep stocking up teams with one after another of kids that can really change the game. I mean, the last 2 years, you've seen a rookie receiver from LSU come in and transform an offense that he joins. And you'd be hard pressed to sit here and say that somebody that we saw last night won't do the same. I mean, they're all really, really good, and they caught the ball well. They ran very well. Olave and Garrett Wilson in seeing them with my own two eyes really was amazing. I thought the wide receiver position is stocked. And I'm not surprised now, to be very honest with you. I don't know if you can connect dots, but you see, like, say, a veteran like Cole Beasley suddenly might not be back with the Bills. Like,
right.
That's a headline that just popped in the last half hour. I mean, if you want to go ahead and draft a kid in the 4th or 5th round, I think he can actually start for your team. That's what I saw last night. And then the quarterback spot, I mean, Malik Willis had me at hello. He's got a big arm. He's got some big game. And as I tweeted out last night, even during the broadcast, if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm like, yes, please. And the response I got from Steve Smith on the turf, and then, of course, through some other people on Twitter, was like, how do you know he's going to be there at 20? I mean, I think he's going to get pushed up, and he might even be the first guy off the board. Yeah,
there's a lot of hype that comes into it, and I always knew this was going to be the case, right? Anytime between when the Super Bowl ends to when the combine happens and then ultimately the draft, the spin, the hype train, all of it plays into the quarterback's advantage. And ultimately, there's going to be general managers out there that fear they're going to miss out on the next great quarterback, and they'll do and move heaven and earth to go get that.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of the it factor. I know, the fact that he played at Liberty means not many people saw him play, but he was at Auburn. He was an Auburn kid. He was an Auburn kid for a couple of years, and when Auburn went to Bo Nix after Stidham left, that's when he transferred. And he's got big game, man. I saw him. I thought Desmond Ridder had a nice night last night. But again, you're just sitting there in workout clothes, and there's really no adversity other than the fact that you've been poked and prodded for 3.5 days beforehand, and then you have to get out on the field. It's just not a really, and that's why people love their pro days a little bit better, that you don't go through the gauntlet of the medical and the
psychological,
the interviews. I mean, it really is. I mean, this is just the end of the combine. They're done. And there's a relief when you're done with it, but it's the most important part of it because it is the physical, attributes that got many of these kids to the invitation of the combine. So outside of all that, like, you just don't know. It's just part of a puzzle, the piece of the puzzle. You hear that all the time. But this draft tonight, I think you're going to see maybe the first overall pick out there with one of the offensive linemen tonight. That's the way it's going to go. And I know that last year there were only 3 quarterbacks taken in the first 3 picks. We may not see one in the top 10 this year. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and maybe one of the Ohio State wide receivers, whichever one you like.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.